It's a very warm welcome back to second half independent off-tube studio commentary. It's not that we've been slacking, it's that the Rangers players have been slacking. We should have started at least a couple of minutes ago, but it took a little bit longer for Michael Beale's side to come out of the tunnel. But Stephen McLean, our referee, has now restarted play here for the second half in this Old Firm clash. Rangers leading against Celtic by 2-0. It's very much a deserved scoreline. Rangers were up for it, just as though I wouldn't say the Celtic weren't up for it, but I think they were just a little bit caught by the intensity of Rangers and the fact that perhaps psychologically Celtic are now Scottish champions. It might have just taken a little bit of an edge off what they were doing, but they need to really respond in this second half if they're going to maintain this unbelievable unbeaten run that's gone all the way since September in terms of Scottish football. It'll be fascinating to see how they get on. It's myself, Paul Szczerbakowicz, and Ben Rogers taking you through the action. Ben, it's got to be a much more improved Celtic, but then at the same time Rangers will still be up for it.
That's it, Paul, you've mentioned it there. It has been improved Celtic, but I think you're actually also relying on Rangers perhaps to come off the ball a bit, because they were terrific in the first half. You mentioned there, Celtic on a 28-game unbeaten run. Their last loss in all competitions was in November against Real Madrid, September in the league, but I think the referee there just blew for a foul from Todd Cantwell. I thought he may have got away with it if Stephen McLean wasn't happy with the challenge. But when you look ahead, I was just looking at half-time at a few of the stats from Rangers games at Ibrox this season. 17 games they've played at Ibrox this season. They've won 15 of those, drawn 2, lost none, so they're unbeaten in the league at Ibrox this season. It shows that this has become somewhat of a fortress for them, and I think they proved that in the first half, just how well they can play in front of a home crowd.
Well, they have to, as I say, they needed to get something for their crowd to cheer about, considering that Celtic have been so dominant this season. But here comes Celtic now with their first attack of the second half. It's stopped at the edge of the box there by Rid van Yilmaz, out for a Celtic corner kick. It was a Barda's ball into the box. No change for either side, so it's McCrorie in goal for Rangers. The back four of Tavernier, Goldson, Sutar and Yilmaz. It's Lundstrom, Jack and Raskin as the three in midfield, with Cantwell, Matondo and Sakala as the attacking three. Celtic, it's Hart in goal, a back four of Ralston, Starfelt, Kobayashi and Bernabei. The three in midfield are O'Reilly, McGregor and Hatate, with Abada, Jota and Hyong Gyu as the three up front. A corner kick whipped in, but it was whipped in towards the edge of the 6-yard box by the near post, and the header towards goal was off target in the end by some way. I think it was that Jota that got himself into position. He tried to flick it towards goal, but it never really looked like it was going to threaten the net anyway.
No, there's a similar effort to what Rangers had in the first half. That similar sort of position to the right-hand side of the 6-yard box, and as I mentioned in the first half, you need more of a glance and a full contact, and he's just trying to flick it with his boot, but he just made full contact, so it comes off his lace in the end, and it's never going to trouble McCrorie in the goal for Rangers. But improved start to the second half from Celtic. It's just, I say that, I thought Todd Cantwell would just pick the pocket of O'Reilly there. He thinks he did, Todd Cantwell, but Stephen McLean disagrees.
Well, lip reading Todd Cantwell, he just says, I didn't touch him, so he's very surprised by that decision. But Celtic will be very relieved by that decision, because if there was no foul, then Cantwell was away, and certainly Rangers would have had a couple of players over as well. But Celtic now back in possession inside their own half here with Carl Starfelt. Thought about playing it long. Rangers have played a high offside line, so Celtic forced to just try and keep possession on the halfway line here. Jota going back towards Kobayashi, and Starfelt again. Looks like there's 48 minutes gone in this game. It's 52 minutes gone in the other game between Leeds and Newcastle. That was the early game in the English Premier League, and it is still 1-1 in that game. So they're a few minutes ahead of us. As I say, they finished a minute or two before we did, and we had a little bit of a late start in the second half. But Celtic trying to keep as much of the ball as they can in the early stages here. Pushing forward down the right-hand side there was Ralston. He gets away from Matondo. Playing it back towards Starfelt. Dropping a little bit deeper now is O'Reilly. Again, Celtic, for all these passes they've exchanged, they haven't really got past the halfway line. And just as I say that, it's a loose ball that won't be kept there by Bernabei, and all of a sudden Rangers are on the attack down the right-hand side. It's Sakala's ball in, which gets a deflection, but it almost drops kindly inside the penalty area there. It's for Raskin. He couldn't quite get his foot through that one, though. And Celtic now trying to clear their lines down the right-hand side. It's a ball from Ralston. It didn't get too much distance on it. And now Rangers have won it back as well, with the chance to get the ball in from the left-hand side. Oh, the cross coming in there just a little bit too high. And Celtic now trying to get the ball away down their left-hand side. But Bernabei, well, initially looked like he'd been caught in possession, but he does actually win the ball back. Now an attempted clearance there through midfield from O'Reilly. He claims that there was a handball. Referee not interested, and Rangers have it back now with Goldson. There is an intensity at the start of this second half. And just as I say that, Ryan Jack's been caught in possession. Great chance this for Celtic. Breaking into the box, a strike, and it's a one-handed save there from McCrorie. And it's needed to be. It's O'Reilly that wins the ball in midfield. Uncharacteristically there, Jack is easily robbed of the ball.
I was about to say Rangers look really good in possession of the ball, and then just as I was about to say that, Ryan Jack gets dispossessed by O'Reilly, who does really well though, doesn't need to pick the pocket of Ryan Jack, and then Suter, to his credit, he does really well, just to delay his tackle. O'Reilly gets onside to his left foot, then tries to cut it back across the goalkeeper, McCrorie, who dives the other way initially, but is able just to tip a reaction save above the crossbar.
Well, the corner kick's been taken short, then it's played all the way back towards Rio Hatate, whose effort is nowhere near the goal, but it did get a deflection as Hatate struck it, so that should be another corner kick to Celtic now. We can see Jota a little bit unhappy there, just collecting a couple of lighters and coins from the corner of the field. As I say, it's not sure that he can say that any of those were necessarily thrown at him, although now, just as I said, there are a few more items being hurled towards the corner.
It's needless though, isn't it? You tune it up, just enjoy the game. Don't be throwing stuff onto the pitch because you're just going to delay the game. I'm sure the Rangers players themselves want to keep going. They've started this game really well. They started this half really well, just so they ended the first. They've got a 2-goal lead. They don't need to be throwing needless items onto the pitch.
No, and as I say, that's now been passed on to the fourth official, who's passed it on to the stadium manager. But we are going to see this corner kick now finally from the left-hand side. Those emotions on Derby Day. I'm not excusing anyone throwing an item onto the pitch, though. Certainly no need for that. The corner kick was taken short and it's been wasted. Jota was caught in possession, but credit there on the halfway line to Rio Hatate. He slides in and at least he wins the ball back. Well, he doesn't win the ball back, but at least he puts it out for a throw. But it looked as though Rangers could have been going on the counter.
Yeah, we've mentioned already in the first half the pace that Rangers possessed on the counter-attack in with Matondo and Fashion Sakala. This time Hatate tracks him stride for stride and able to make the tackle to force the throw-in. But Todd Cantwell, for me, I know we've mentioned him a few times in the first half, absolutely fantastic. He's all over the show. It looked as if he might be playing on the right-hand side of the midfield three, but he seems to just be drifting across, having a bit of a free roll, and I think that he's really enjoying it because he's finding different pockets of space, he's putting in strong tackles all over the pitch, and he's making things happen. He's part of everything that's good for Rangers so far. He's very much been the best player, I think, on the field for Rangers this afternoon. And it's absolutely fair that he gets all these plaudits this afternoon because he really has been, he's been like a central midfielder in terms of where he's been on the field, but he's also been so useful in attack, pushing forward. But here comes Celtic now. They're trying to push forward. Abada at the edge of the area. Not a good ball from him. Cleared back into midfield. Abada tries to recycle that, but Rangers bring it away, and suddenly there's a chance for a counter. A ball played out towards Sakala. Hart is out, but Sakala gets past him, although the angle is tight. Sakala needs support now at the edge of the area. Goes back to Cantwell, who goes for goal, and it deflects away for a corner, but that's very close to Rangers being 3-0 up. It's a perfectly timed ball, and this time Joe Hart, in the first time he timed his run to perfection, this time he don't. Sakala, he's got the better of him, and the Zambian's so quick in behind, and you think for a second that Joe Hart's going to bring him down. To be fair to Joe Hart, he does so well not to make any contact. The Zambian stays truthful, stays onto his feet because there is no contact, cuts it back to Joe Hart, who makes Todd Cantwell, I should say, and then Joe Hart makes an absolutely outrageous reaction save, diving to his left-hand side, his left fingertip, because I think otherwise it's heading into the top corner. Todd Cantwell almost got his second. What a save that is from Joe Hart.
It's superb from Hart. Whether he's got his arm to it or his shoulder, I wasn't too sure, but it's a great save from Hart to stop that ball going in. Tavernier's cross now, and it's almost arrived a little bit too quickly onto the head of Connor Goldson there. He didn't have the angle to try and attack that header. He was having to sort of step back a little bit, and that's resulted in him not getting the power behind the header that he wanted. But Celtic, to their credit, they play out from the back despite there being 5 Rangers players in their half, and it's paid off for Rangers now. They've won the ball back. That's good work there from Nicholas Raskin. And here's Fashion Sakala breaking into the box, puts one into the 6-yard box. It's charged down by Kobayashi. Gets it back here though, does Sakala. Plays it short to Cantwell. Now it's Raskin down the right-hand side. His cross gets a deflection. Oh, it just gets away from Tavernier, and it's cleared back into midfield. Could have been a foul there on Guillou. Referee not interested. Oh, there could have been a foul there on Jota. I think that has been given as a free kick, and Celtic with a chance just to take a breath now.
Yeah, it was a strong challenge in from Connor Goldson on Huang Ju, sorry. And I thought for a second there that the referee might just penalise it because it looked as if he was breaking up the counter-attack, but he waved it to play on, and then you just see Todd Cantwell there with a foul on Jota. Unintentional, it is a sore one. He just stands on the back of his right boot, doesn't he?
His ankle rolled there, did Todd Campbell, and he just lost his balance. It is still a foul, but I don't think there was much intent in anyone saying what
definitely
Campbell
not.
did
I think, as you say, that's why Todd Campbell, to be fair to him, went over. He a lot of sympathy towards Jota. He knew what he'd done, but didn't mean to make that tackle. It's still a painful one. Doesn't take the pain away from Jota, of course, but he's back up to his feet now.
He is back up to his feet, and he's deflected that ball off James Tavernier, and both sets of players are saying it's our ball. It has been given as a Celtic ball, but has it been given as a corner, or is it a throw on right by the corner flag? It has been given as a corner, so this is a good chance now for Celtic, and players waiting just at the edge of the area. Referee Stephen McLean just trying to get that closest Rangers player. Looks like it's Radwan Ilmaz who was trying to slow things down. The corner kick's been taken. It's back with McGregor. And played down this left-hand side. Oh, that's a little bit... He showed too much there, did Matt O'Reilly. And the ball has been put out for another corner or a throw. There's a Celtic man down in the meantime. It looks like it's Ilmaz.
Yeah, I'm not sure whether he got caught by his own teammate there, Todd Campbell, but I think Todd Campbell just put his hand up there to say sorry because the ball was actually going to go out for a goal kick, but Campbell's come across to clear it. You can actually see it's O'Reilly that catches the back of the heels of Ilmaz there, but yeah, if Todd Campbell could have just seen that ball out, he could have forced a goal kick. I think he put his hand up as if to say sorry, I've had a bit of a nightmare there, but in the end, as you say, it's a throw into Celtic, not the end of the world, but Ilmaz back up to his feet. He just got caught. I think it was similar to the Todd Campbell one on Jota, where he sort of lost his footing and then accidentally proceeded to stand on the back of his foot. It's a similar one there to what happened to Ilmaz, but again, he's back up to his feet.
He's back up to his feet, just out for a throw on this occasion, and Celtic have gone back to the halfway line now. Carl Startfelt looked up and thought about a diagonal ball over towards the right-hand side, just holds on to it in midfield, plays it short now to Hatate. Here is Lee Alabada, lovely overlap here as well, chance to get the cross in. Oh, it's far too low, not good enough there from O'Reilly. A second ball now down the right-hand side for Celtic, but that eludes everybody as well, and it is out for a goal kick. I think this is what will be annoying for Postecoglou and his coaches, is not so much the fact that Rangers are more up for it, because that, as I say, that's always going to hurt a manager when the opposition are just that more keen to get into it. But what he'll be frustrated by is that Celtic have had more than enough possession now, but they're just lacking a little bit of quality in the final third, and that's been the theme now in the second half especially.
I think that's what I'm about to say the same thing, Paul. I think he'll be frustrated at the fact that his side has lacked quality. A side that scored 105 league goals this season is just lacking quality in the final third. They look like they're maybe short on ideas. We're only 57 minutes into this match. I don't think we're too far away from seeing some substitutes for Celtic, because at the moment the players on the pitch are not doing what's required of them. And as a manager, I think when you're seeing that and you're frustrated perhaps with the application as well from some of the players, I think there's a lot of negative body language going around. There's a lot of arms being thrown around in the air, and I think it would be frustrated with what he's seen. Especially, they should be high on confidence after coming off the back of securing their 53rd league title.
No, I think that's fair, and as I say, they've got Summers, Maeda, Haksabanovic, Turnbull, Iwata, Furuhashi, Taylor, Forrest, and the goalkeeper Bain on their bench. But here come Rangers now with a chance at the edge of the area. Strike coming in from Matondo, but that one is easily saved by Joe Hart. As for the Rangers bench this afternoon, it's Moreos, Devine, King, Hadji, Kamara, Lovelace, Arfield, Lowry, and the goalkeeper McGregor on the bench this afternoon for Michael Beale. But in the meantime, Celtic in possession now. It's with Reo Hatate, sweeping ball down the left-hand side. It was the right idea to Jota, but just a little bit overhit, and a slight grimace there from Jota back to his teammate, as if to say, come on, you can do much better than that. Give me half a chance to chase something down. So we can now see Moreos sat on the bench for Rangers. To say, in terms of his striking ability, he should be walking into that Rangers team, but of course that's not all there is to Alfredo Moreos. There's a whole other sideshow with him as well, isn't there? And he can be a difficult player to handle, not just in terms of the opposition, but also in terms of his own teammates.
Yeah, I think Alfredo Morelos is already spoken about. Michael Beale has spoken about him this week, hasn't he, in his press conference, and he wasn't most complimentary towards Alfredo Morelos. It looks as if he will be leaving at the end of the season on a free transfer. He's been a great servant for Rangers, though, hasn't he? He's produced some great moments for them. He scored some fantastically important goals, but I think in the end, it's took a bit of a sour turn, a bit of a sour end to his story at Ibrox. But as you say, he's a great goal scorer, and I wouldn't be surprised if we are to see him come on today. But as for Celtic, I mean, they've got the likes of Dozen Maeda on the bench, and we know what a fantastic player he's been for Celtic in his 2 seasons with the club. And as we've seen the first yellow card brandished now, I think it's towards Callum McGregor, the Celtic captain.
Yeah, I mean, he's unhappy with this decision, but the fact is that there were a couple of, there were at least 3 attempts to try and stop Fashion Sakala there as he was trying to get on the counter-attack down the right-hand side. And Callum McGregor, incredibly, it's only his 3rd yellow card of the season, and so I would have had him down as getting perhaps a few more. But that's free kick's been taken short. Rangers have gone back towards the edge of their own box. Coming up to an hour gone here at Ibrox, unofficial independent off-tube studio commentary. Rangers still leading against Celtic by 2 goals to 0. Nice run this from John Lundstrom down the left-hand side. Rolls that ball in towards Matondo. And there was an appeal from a couple of Celtic players that he was offside, and it turns out he was.
He looked offside. That's really poor from Rabbi Matondo, though, because he's got the position he is on that far left-hand side. He can look across the whole line. He knows if he's in line with the last defender or not, and I think he'd be really disappointed that he's got himself into an offside position there. He did look offside from the naked eye, but I just think he'd be so disappointed with the fact that, you know, you've got that all the time in the world to look across. It's not as if you're on a counter-attack or anything. You're in the attacking position and you just stood offside there and you're gifted in possession of the ball back to your position.
And that's exactly what they did on that occasion. Rangers would certainly like a 3rd goal, if anything, just to give them even more of a cushion, but also that would really put the icing on the cake for a famous and old firm win. And you just know with the way Celtic have played this season, if they were to get a goal back, then all of a sudden the Rangers are going to feel the tension and things can get very difficult then.
Yeah, and I think with the record that these two sides have had head-to-head in the season, especially what happened 2 weeks ago in the Scottish Cup, Rangers wouldn't have forgotten that. And Celtic, they're the team that come into this game full of confidence. You know, Rangers have lost 3 of their last 5 games in all competitions. They're not a team that are exactly high on confidence, which is why this result is even more surprising. Celtic are a team that have not lost in the league since September. Have lost 1 game in 35 games in the league this season. Their last defeat come against arguably one of the best sides, or the best side in the world at the moment. They're the current reigning European champions, Real Madrid. So Celtic are a team that are high on confidence. Rangers aren't, but Rangers lead the game 2-0.
Rangers lead the game 2-0, but Celtic go on the attack now with a crossfield ball from right to left to pick out Jota. Then it's Atate's ball into the 6-yard box, batted down by McCrorie inside his 6-yard box. Another chance here from Jota, puts a cross in, but that's catching practice for Rangers' new goalkeeper. McCrorie had no problem with that one, and this initial effort here from Jota, as he rolled it here to Hatate, he fired that one, and the goalkeeper, well, he does well to bat it away, but he gets a bit of luck as to where the ball ends up as well.
Yeah, it was simply to Joe Hart for the opening goal, wasn't it? He batted his area into danger, and Todd Campbell was there as the grateful recipient for the second. This time there wasn't a Celtic player to punish. But
well, here come Rangers up the other end now with Cantwell and Sakala exchanging passes. The ball then breaks back to Todd Cantwell inside the penalty area. It's a tight angle, he fires across goal, and it gets a deflection off the feet of Joe Hart, and it's out for a corner kick. It's not out for a corner kick because I think there's been a delayed offside in the meantime there, as Cantwell looks a little bit frustrated towards the referee. I'll just see here, is Cantwell offside? Cantwell's not offside, but not really sure why that wouldn't have been given as a corner, but certainly Cantwell looked a little bit confused there. Hart only just managed to get his foot to that as well.
Yeah, it's a good save from Joe in the end. He almost got nutmegged again by the goalkeeper. Michael Bill's fuming, and I've got to say, I'm a bit surprised as to what actually has been given here, because looking at the replay, it couldn't have been offside because no one was even remotely close to being offside.
Have they missed the save from Joe Hart and given it as a goal kick? I can't believe that. But meantime, let's have a look here, because Celtic are making changes aplenty here with Hyung-Gyu and Liel Abada off. Maeda is on to replace him. That was one of the substitutes we saw. Furuhashi was the other substitute I think I saw there as well. So Maeda and Furuhashi on here to try and kick things up now for Celtic.
Yeah, go Furuhashi and Maeda coming on. I did say that I think Maeda will be on soon. He's 8 Scottish Premiership goals this season. He's been a player that's there for the big moments. He, of course, set up the goal in this fixture 2 weeks ago in the Scottish Cup semi-final. He set that goal up, so I'm sure he'll be looking to do that again, or perhaps get himself on the score sheet if it's possible, as Rangers just switch possession of the ball again here. And I think Celtic needed just to freshen up some forward names up there, Paul, because they were struggling for creative spark, really, if anything else.
Yes, and I think that's fair. That certainly in the second half, we saw a couple of good moments from Gyu in the first, but we barely see them at all in the second. And it was, I think it was about time that Ante Postecoglou just freshened things up in terms of that Celtic attack. But in the meantime, it's still Rangers enjoying a lot of possession. That's the other thing I think that Postecoglou will be annoyed about, is the fact that his side, even though they've seen a fair amount of the ball, have now been struggling in the last 5 or 6 minutes, and it's now Rangers who are seeing a lot more of the ball in attack. It's down the right-hand side here with Lundstrom, plays it into the middle here for Raskin. quickly switches play. Oh, that's a poor ball. Raskin just puts a little bit too much of a bounce on that, and it's out for a throw to Celtic now with 64 minutes gone.
Yeah, it's good. Poor work from Rangers, wasn't it? Celtic, it feels like the sort of similar pattern as midway through the first half, where they dominate possession of the ball, but they've not really got much to show for it, because I can't really think of an effort on goal they've had in this second half that has been significant, and that will worry Postecoglou more than anything, is the fact that, you know, when Rangers have got the ball, they're looking to make things happen. They're creating things every time. We see Rangers a moment ago, Todd Cantwell, we tested Joe Hart straight away, but they're not having that same impact, Celtic, when they go forward. Rangers seem to be able to hurt them at will. Celtic don't have that same impact on Rangers' defence.
No, they don't, and it's been the story for most of this game, for all of this game, in fact. It's only really been a few moments where Celtic have looked under, or Celtic have put Rangers under genuine pressure there, as Ralston gets that's a full-on body check there on Celtic's right back. And he's going to need to pick himself up there for a moment, as just looks like he had. Well, I thought it might have actually been a foul there, but it has just been given as a throw. So welcome there to the game, as to trying to restart play quickly now for Celtic. Bernabei gets that ball in, and it's now cleared back towards Starfelt. It's a pressure here on the Celtic goal. Hart having to quickly sweep it out towards Bernabei, then he finds them some space in the middle, and suddenly Celtic look a little bit more open in midfield, as here comes Rayo Hetate, and he puts a good ball in. It's not a bad one for Furuhashi to chase, but it's also good work there from McCrorie to come out and clear. And as I say, I've not seen McCrorie play a full match before. I've been impressed with him. We both, I think, expected him to be a little bit more tested this afternoon, but what he has done, he's done well. Yeah,
as you mentioned it there, I've not seen too much of him, but he's played 3 games for Rangers. He's kept clean sheets in all of them as well, but clean sheet at the weekend. He's currently got a clean sheet in his Old Firm derby. I mean, he's certainly staking a claim to become Rangers' new number 1. I mentioned earlier on the commentary that Alan McGregor is approaching the back end of his career. I think that's fair to say. And as for McCrorie, I think, you know, everything he's had to do, he's done well, Paul. That's the best way of putting it. Like, he's not really been tested. That's the problem. I think, you know, Celtic will be looking at a goalkeeper, a relatively young goalkeeper, McCrorie, who's not played that many times for Rangers. It's an Old Firm derby. It's a big occasion. It's one of the biggest games that you can play in Britain. But they're not testing the goalkeeper because they're not creating anything. They're
not creating anything, and that is the problem, as Rangers now are preparing to bring, looks like that was Hadji, the Romanian midfielder and forward, getting ready to come on. Just to tell you as well, in the other game being played right now in the English Premier League, Leeds 1 and Newcastle 2, and it's a second Callum Wilson penalty that puts Newcastle 2-1 up away at Ellen Road. So problems there for Leeds, who already were in relegation at the start of play this afternoon. So at Ibrox, there's still no change in the score. Rangers still lead 2-0, which they did at half-time. But Celtic have seen a lot of the ball in the second half, but really have struggled to create chances. McCrory's only had to make the one save, really, with the ball flashed across him from the left-hand side. At the other end, Joe Hart have to make a couple of saves, in particular using his feet to stop a strike from Todd Cantwell. But this has been a very good performance from Rangers. They really have lived up to the derby this afternoon, whereas Celtic perhaps just a little bit cautious at times. And even when they have had possession, they've not really created the chances that Postecoglou and his coaches would have expected. So with just over 20 minutes to go at Ibrox, it is Rangers 2, Celtic 0.
It's Rangers 2, Celtic 0, as the ball comes forward now from Celtic. But again, it's a poor pass, that. This time from Maeda, and now Rangers have come forward on the right-hand side with Fashion Sakala. Sakala, one-on-one with Kobayashi, goes left, then right. He uses his body feints really well there, and Kobayashi's just about got a touch on the ball, as Stephen McLean had a really good view of that, tapping it straight in the ear of our Scottish referee, but I think he's saying that he see Kobayashi get a touch on the ball there. It was a good body feint from Fashion Sakala. He can go left and right. That's why he's so dangerous. I think that's his last involvement as well, as Rangers look to be appearing a substitute of their own, their first of the afternoon. It's Hadji coming on for Rabbi Matondo, in fact, not Fashion Sakala. So the Welsh international Matondo off, and on comes a famous footballing name, of course, in Hadji for Rangers. He's going to freshen up stuff on the wing. Rangers have been playing predominantly in the wide areas. He's going to come over to this left-hand side, and he'll fancy his chances against Ralston, who's been kept relatively busy for the majority of his game.
He has been very busy, yes, but we've got over the three-quarter mark now. Ben will take us through to full-time.
Yeah, thanks, boys. McGregor dispossessed there by Starfelt, and Rangers are in on goal straight away. It's Fashion Sakala. Surely it's a third goal. He rounds Joe Hart. Sakala in the back of the net, and Rangers have a third at Ibrox. It's pandemonium I don't think anyone could have predicted this scoreline at the start of play. Celtic, 28 games unbeaten, have lost one league game all season, and that come in September against St Mirren. But their old firm rivals are going to put a dagger through their heart. That unbeaten run's surely going to come to an end as we're into the final 20 minutes of the game. Nightmare at the back for Celtic between McGregor and Starfelt. As cool as you like from the Zambian international Sakala, and he grabs Rangers' third, his first, and it's unbelievable performance. It's capped off an unbelievable performance for Michael Bill's side. It's 3-0 to Rangers.
Well, what a game this is at Ibrox. Rangers have their third, and that's going to be the Old Firm will win now, surely. Celtic, architects of this goal, though, it has to be said. Loose play in midfield. McGregor is caught in possession. Starfelt also unable to win the ball back. And then it's played through towards Fashion Sakala, using that pace, dropping a shoulder, getting past Joe Hart, and then just rolling that ball with the left foot just inside the post and into the back of the net, much to the delight of the Ibrox crowd here for a third Rangers goal. Their value for it, they've been absolutely superb this afternoon, and Rangers lead against Celtic by 3-0.
Uncharacteristic mistakes in there from McGregor and from Starfelt, who, to be fair, has been really good this game, Starfelt, although Celtic did trail by 2-0, but this time he was unable to reprimand his captain. McGregor caught in possession. Sakala, as cool as you like, there, the Zambian, for his 9th Scottish Premiership goal of the season, and Rangers have a third, and this is one of the best Old Firm derby results for them in quite some time. It's been a long time since they've been able to stick it to their rivals, but at the moment they're doing just that. They lead now by 3-0. Very, very impressive performance from Michael Bill's side. One that I don't think a lot of people saw coming, based in Celtic's form coming into this game. The fact that Rangers have lost 3 of their last 4 as well, as Rangers look to keep this form going. They come forward again here with Sakala on the left-hand side. He's held by Starfelt, but he finds Hadji. Hadji thought about the quick switch of play, but decides to go back and just keep possession of the ball for Rangers. They're looking to be relentless, though, Rangers. They want a forfeit, and they're coming forward again with John Lundstrom. Lundstrom plays a square ball out to the right-hand side towards Tavernier, who took a really poor first touch from Tavernier. He's able just about to keep it in, and that makes his own player, and then beats Daisen Maeda. A lazy challenge from the Japanese international. Tavernier's then fouled by Maeda out of frustration, really. Just took out the legs of the Rangers captain, and it will be a Rangers free kick just in between the Celtic 18-yard box and the halfway line. Celtic, I should say, already in their 3rd, 4th and 5th changes of the afternoon, so they will be making a triple substitution here, and I think that's just...
It looks like it's Turnbull that's getting ready to come on, as is Szczerbakowicz and Iwata. So 3 changes here for Ange Postecoglou, and if he could change more, he probably would change more. He won't be happy, the Australian manager, this afternoon. He expects a lot from his Celtic team, and let's face it, most of the time he does get a lot from his Celtic team. But here's the free kick from Tavernier. Yeah,
free kick from Tavernier comes in towards Connor Golson, heads it back across. Joe Hart's able to gratefully grasp that. For a second it looked like it may just loft over Joe Hart, but he watched it well, the Celtic number 1, and thankfully for him, this time he's not having to pick the ball out the back of his net. Szczerbakowicz, of course, Montenegro international. He's got 6 Premiership goals this season for Celtic, so he knows where the back of the net is, but he's just fallen out of favour with Postecoglou. He was preferred by Hwang Ju this afternoon. Todd Cantwell again picks up possession of the ball and looks to get Rangers on the attack again. And Rangers, they look in the mood to really make this an embarrassing scoreline for Celtic, of course, after what happened last weekend. And Celtic won away at Hearts to secure their Scottish Premiership title. They're 11th in the last 12 years. Rangers would have wanted a response. The fans would have wanted a response from their side this afternoon. They've certainly got it. It's been a fabulous performance from Michael Bill's side, but it's not over yet, because Rangers will want more. It's 73 minutes played. Independent off-tube studio-based coverage. Rangers 3, Celtic 0. Here comes Tavernier. Coming forward, he's backing off for Celtic. Maeda looks to get across to John Lundstrom, and I think Joe Hart may well get a touch on that attempted Lundstrom cross. Referee disagrees. It will be a goal kick. I thought Joe Hart there, just at his near post, may have got a slight touch, but John Lundstrom certainly thinks so. But
he can't let this go, can he? I mean, his side are 3-0 up with less than 20 minutes to go, but the way he's swearing towards that linesman, it's almost as if he's been denied a penalty to win the match. But it just shows how much Rangers do care, even at this stage, as we are going to see this triple Celtic change now. And the first to go off is Rayo Hatate.
Yeah, Hatate to come off. So is Jota. So Hatate and Jota off. We've got the likes of Turnbull and Szczerbakowicz coming on. We'll confirm to you the third change as and when we get it. O'Reilly's the 3rd player to come off for Celtic, and I've just seen him kick a water bottle in the background, so that sort of highlights the frustration that they've got. It's Iwata, Turnbull and Szczerbakowicz coming on for the visitors, I should say, but it's probably in vain now. In fairness, I think they're just trying to freshen things up. But it would have to be one of the all-time comebacks in the Old Firm derby if Celtic are to pull this off, and if Rangers are to let this lead slip. But we're into almost the final 15 minutes plus stoppage time that remain at Ibrox. The Celtic looks to come forward in. Turnbull, with his first introduction, loses footing, but John Lundstrom's just pulled Maeda to the floor there. I think he's going to get a yellow card. Wasn't really needed from John Lundstrom, but I think, as Paul mentioned there a couple of minutes ago, he looks, since minute one, he's looked a very angry figure on the pitch, shall we say, and this just sort of epitomises what he's been about.
Yeah, I mean, that is completely reckless from Lundstrom. And even if you've got a manager or fans that will applaud their team for trying hard in a derby and showing passion, that's just you've got to show a calmer head there. Lundstrom isn't a teenager; he's an experienced central midfielder. It's his 8th booking of the season, which I suppose is about right for John Lundstrom. He is a midfielder that does like to get stuck in as a Celtic. Well, it just sums up Celtic's afternoon. It was Haksabanovic that played a ball down the right-hand side on the overlap to nobody. Nobody was following that pass at all, and it just goes out aimlessly for a goal kick. It's been a poor afternoon for Celtic, really.
Yeah, struggling to get things going, aren't they? As Leeds United look to have levelled things at Ellen Road against Newcastle. That could be a massive goal for...
It certainly would be if Leeds do... we're getting word that there has been an equaliser at Ellen Road, but a draw alone I don't think would be enough for Leeds, although it's better than a defeat, of course, but they ideally need to get a win to actually get themselves out of relegation.
I do indeed. They're into the final few minutes of that game, though, and Leeds United have got an equalising goal at Ellen Road. Newcastle, of course, 2 penalties courtesy of Callum Wilson. Look to have given them all 3 points, but Leeds United have equalised. We'll confirm for you the goal scorer.
Rasmus Christensen it was.
Wow, rare goal for Leeds United full-back as Celtic look to try and mount a comeback of their own, but as I say, it's probably going to be in vain. They're 3 goals down at Ibrox as a long ball's played forward here towards Fashion Sakala, the Zambian international up front for Rangers. He finds support in Hadji. Hadji's one-on-one with Turnbull, looks to cut left and right. It's good work from Hadji. It's good defending in the end in there from Ralston for Celtic, and now they play it out towards Haksabanovic, the first introduction for the Montenegro international. He finds Ralston across the Starfelt, who played a bit of a part in the 3rd goal for Rangers. Between him and McGregor, it wasn't the most convincing piece of defending for Postecoglou's side, as Maeda finds the feet of his captain Callum McGregor towards Starfelt, and again Celtic look to just regain a foothold in this game, but they've really got to start with some urgency here if they are to avoid defeat against their rivals, as Turnbull drops deep to find possession of the ball. He finds Haksabanovic. Haksabanovic has got support. It's a strong tackle that comes in from Hadji, but all ball, says the referee, and I've got to agree there. It looked as if he did win all the ball as McGregor finds the feet, tries to find the feet of Haksabanovic again. Just sums up Celtic's sort of joy in the final third. They just can't seem to get anything going, and it's just they'll get themselves into a good position, and the final ball is just completely off.
Yeah, it's been a problem for Celtic all afternoon, really, that they have struggled in that final third, and that's been the worry, I think, though, even after that really bright start from Rangers. When Celtic started to see a lot of the ball, Rangers never seemed to be under too much threat. And the best Celtic chance in the first half was that effort which hit the post from Guy, where the goalkeeper slipped. And in the second half, there's not really been a clear-cut effort from Celtic. There have been a couple of half chances and a couple of saves from the goalkeeper, but Celtic really have struggled in the final third, which is so uncharacteristic for them this season.
Yeah, it is uncharacteristic for Postecoglou's side. They've scored 105 league goals this season. Again, the ball's played forward towards Dyson Maeda. I think it's going to go out for a goal kick, and it is. Maeda was trying to say it took a touch there, but I didn't think it did. I
think he's clutching at straws there, Maeda, but that stat you mentioned about the number of goals that Celtic have scored, I mean, it's almost working out to be about 3 goals a game. So for them to go to that, to have no really good efforts on goal this afternoon, just shows you just how poor a game it's been for them and how excellent Rangers have been as well. Yeah,
well, of the 28 games that prior to this that Celtic were unbeaten in, 25 of those they'd scored 2 or more goals in, so it highlights how good Celtic have been in front of goal. But Rangers have completely nullified that threat this afternoon at Ibrox, and so far they're keeping their harshest, biggest rivals 2-0. It's Rangers 3, Celtic 0. Goals from Todd Cantwell, Fashion Sakala earlier on in the first half, as Rangers have a throw in here with slight stoppage in play. I think Celtic have got a man down. I think it's the substitute Turnbull that's gone down. He's back up now to his feet. I think he just took a little bit of a late challenge there from Todd Cantwell, who's definitely thrown his body around in this second half. But again, Celtic lose possession of the ball, trying to play out, and again Rangers will pick it up with Ryan Jack. Ryan Jack back to Connor Golson. Golson forced all the way back though. Some good pressure there from Celtic. McCrorie takes no risk with a long raking ball forward. Kobayashi's under it. He lets it bounce. Sakala puts him under pressure, but Kobayashi will nod home to Joe Hart as we approach the 79.5 minutes mark of this match. And it just seems to have petered out in the last couple of minutes, Paul, doesn't it? Since the third Rangers goal, really. Celtic are not really in any rush to go forward. They're not really playing with enough impetus to get themselves back into this game, but Rangers are just happy to sit deep in shape now. They know
I think Rangers have just perhaps tailed off their pressing a little bit, which I don't criticise, because they have been really pushing high up the field. They're almost like allowing Celtic just have that bit more space on the park, but Celtic aren't really using that space, even when they've had the freedom to try and play some passes in midfield. As soon as they get anywhere near that final third, it's just lacking something, and that's been the case all afternoon, unfortunately, from Celtic's point of view.
As Celtic again here with their Montenegro international backs Szczerbakowicz, but again it's a poor ball from the Celtic number 9. This time he was looking for Kyogo, who just found himself in a dangerous position there in between the two Rangers centre halves, but McCrorie was there to make amends for Rangers and pick it up as Connor Golson there just signals to McCrorie, can you put the ball out of play? I think Golson may have run his race now. He's just gone down. It's the top of his left foot he's holding out, but he looks to be in real discomfort, Connor Golson then. Not quite sure what happened, but I just see when McCrorie picked up the ball, he just sort of signalled to him, can you put the ball out, because I'm in pain here, and he's gone down holding his left foot, and it looks to be in a bit of discomfort here, the Rangers defender, who's stamping his foot to the ground.
That's not going to help him at all, is it? I mean, if he put his finger on the top of his left foot, just by the laces, and he was in real pain, and then he started kicking that left foot down, stamping it down. That's certainly not going to help him. But the Rangers medical staff are over with him now. Whether or not change is going to be necessary. Celtic have made 4 changes in this game. Well, 5, I should say, I beg your pardon. And Rangers have only made the 1 so far, with Hadji coming on for Matondo. But now it looks like Scott Arfield's getting ready to come on.
Scott Arfield coming on. It's not like for Connor Goldson, is it? I'm sure they may have to perhaps rejig. Perhaps Ilmaz into... Unless
Arfield was already a substitute that they were preparing to bring on, and it may just be that they're going to have to get a second sub now for Goldson as well. I mean, he's walking off the field. Looks fairly comfortable there as he's coming off the field for the time being. So we'll wait and see whether or not he actually needs to be replaced or not.
Got Leon King, of course, on the bench. A youngster that's played a few times for Celtic this season. I remember he come on in one of the Champions League games that I covered for Rangers early on in the season. He's a bright spark, is Leon King. So maybe we might see the introduction of him to this old firm clash, as Goldson is back up to his feet, as you mentioned. Perhaps he may well be okay to continue, but Scott Arfield is ready to come on. It looks as if Ryan Jack's going to be the man coming off. It is Ryan Jack off and Scott Arfield on, the former Burnley man, to come on for the final 8 minutes plus injury time that remain. The Canadian international is going to come into the heart of that midfield alongside Raskin, who's had a fantastic game, has to be said. So to be fair, I think you can say that about every single Rangers player. They've just been a step ahead.
There's nobody below a 7.5, I don't think, for Rangers today in terms of their ratings. They've all been very, very good, and so it shows. You know, that they had a game plan from the very first minute, and so they got their goal early on in the first half as well, which really set the tone for the rest of this game. And the second half has been played at a slower pace, but that's down to Celtic just not doing enough with the ball.
Good work there from Turnbull. Finds Szczerbakowicz on the right-hand side for Celtic. He looks to cut inside this time. He finds Turnbull again. Turnbull shapes to shoot, does shoot, strikes it well, but was never really going to trouble McCrorie from that distance. Difficult technique that, to have the power and the accuracy to beat the goalkeeper from that range, and Turnbull didn't quite have what was required.
No, he didn't. As I say, he put his foot through it. You made the point. It was a very good contact with the ball, decent connection from Turnbull, but lifts that a long way. And from a long way out, Robbie McCrorie could see that that shot wasn't going to threaten his goal at all.
McCrorie, as Paul mentioned earlier on, has had very little to do in this game so far, and I'm sure he'd like to keep it that way in the final few minutes that remain, as he looks towards a second successive league clean sheet in a few days, as well as a Old Firm derby debut clean sheet. It doesn't really get much better than that if you're a Rangers goalkeeper.
No, it doesn't. But again, it just sums up how bad Celtic's afternoon has been. They just won the ball back from at the edge of the Rangers penalty area after a short goal kick. They pressed well, won the ball back. A ball was played down the right-hand side here from Szczerbakowicz, and again, nobody on the overlap. Has just been given away. And in this sort of position, I do wonder what Postecoglou is going to do at the end of the match with his players, because he won't obviously want to show them that this is acceptable, but at the same time, he can't berate them too much when you consider the sort of season that they've had. So it's going to be a fine balance, but I think he's just got to let his players know that the intensity and the quality today has just not been there from Celtic.
Yeah, I hope that he wouldn't let them off after this game, because he needs to. The fans have paid their hard-earned money to come to this game, and they just haven't had what was required for the large portion of the game. I think the better team has won, and the scoreline doesn't flatter Rangers at all. They have just been the better side. They've wanted it more than Celtic, and it's easy. It's hard, as I should say, to sometimes keep that same sort of intensity and focus when you've already wrapped up the league title. But I think in a game of this magnitude, you should be able to just be up for it regardless of what's going on elsewhere. And the fact that Celtic were 13 points clear of Rangers going into this game shouldn't have really had a bearing on the game, but perhaps it has, because Rangers have just been so clear of Celtic in this game. And it's the first time in, I'd say, a few years that Rangers have thoroughly dominated an Old Firm derby.
Yes, it has, and it'll be certainly a nice break for the Rangers supporters as well. They can finally say that they have had a very good performance against Celtic in an Old Firm game, which, as you mentioned, has been a very scarce thing over the last few years.
Yeah, a collector's item indeed, but Rangers have just, as I said, they've lowered off their pressure in the last few minutes, sat back and allowed Celtic to come onto them, because they know that Celtic can't really hurt them. But Celtic could try and do that here with the Montenegro international Szczerbakowicz, but it's a poor ball forward from Callum McGregor towards his Montenegro winger, and it'll be his Rangers throw-in on the far left-hand side, which Yilmaz comes across to take. Rangers are already in 2 substitutes. That'll be their 3rd and 4th subs of the game. Lowry's one of the players. I'm not quite sure who the last is just yet, but Alex Lowry, the 19-year-old midfielder, he's not played a game for Rangers in quite some time. 1st of February was the last time he played for Michael Bill's side, so the return to action for the 19-year-old. That'd be good to get him some minutes, especially in a situation like this where his side have already wrapped up the game and he's coming on in an Old Firm derby, as Celtic have won a throw in there with Ralston on the far right hand side as they attack back towards Starfelt to Kobayashi. Kobayashi got support with Burnaby. He looks for Burnaby. It's intercepted by Scott Arfield, but he slips at the vital moment there, and Kobayashi will pick the ball back up, but John Lundstrom dispossesses him to Todd Cantwell. Cantwell, again with his dancing quick feet towards his captain, Tavernier to Connor Goldson. Goldson with a long raking ball forward. Fashion Sakala may well get on the end of this, and he does, as he got support in blue shirts ahead of him. He's one-on-one here with his man. He beats him. He gets a shot away, deflected. I'm not sure if it deflected off Scott Arfield or off Callum McGregor. I think Steve McLean has said it's off Arfield, out for a goal kick, but brilliant work then again from Fashion Sakala. Burnaby just didn't have the burners on him at all.
No, he didn't, and it's a ball that always looked like was going to stay in place. Sakala does well to get to it, and then he tries to, he thinks about getting a shot away, then he gets into a slightly better position, and he is just a little bit unlucky with the positioning of his teammate. But there's going to be 3 changes now for Rangers. Yeah,
they're 3rd, 4th and 5th collective as well. Glenn Kamara, didn't see him earlier on, but he's now got himself onto the pitch. Sakala and Cantwell, the other 2, Sakala, Cantwell, Lundstrom off. Lovelace, Lowry and Kamara to come on. So a triple substitution for Rangers. Probably their 2 best players of the afternoon, if you were to pick them out, would have been Sakala and Cantwell, and both of them are being replaced now by 2 Rangers youngsters, Lovelace and Lowry, as I mentioned, who's not played since February. Todd Cantwell gets a warm round of applause from the Ibrox crowd. Another fantastic game for the former Norwich and Bournemouth man. He's scored in successive games now for the first time as a Rangers player, and he'll now just be looking to cement his place amongst the Ibrox faithful for the next few years at least, as Celtic take the goal kick with Joe Hart. Joe Hart plays it short this time towards Starfelt, plays it into the feet of McGregor, back towards the Swedish international Starfelt, who finds support with his right back Ralston to McGregor into the feet of Szczerbakowicz, who's harried by Glenn Kamara. Fairly, says the referee, and Hadji looks to bring the ball out here for Rangers. Hadji gets a shot away from distance. He strikes it really well, but Joe Hart firmly struck shot from Hadji. Joe Hart done really well to make that stick, and now Celtic will look to go quickly on the counter-attack as Lovelace puts Maeda under pressure of the ball. Is he going to win the throw-in, or is it going to go Rangers' way? Maeda's furious, but it is going to be off of him last, and a Rangers throw-in, which was just ticking into the 89th minute of this game. And I think Michael Bill would be really happy with what he's seen, Paul. The performance that the game, they almost put to bed in the first half, didn't they? I think in the second half, Celtic come out for a couple of minutes, looked as if they may get themselves back into the game, but that third goal was all just about killed off their hope.
Yeah, it has. I think that what would have been frustrating for Celtic is that they started well in the second half, but then things just sort of tailed off for them, and they didn't create the chances that they would have liked, considering the amount of possession that they had. And now, as we tick down the last few minutes of this game, it's actually Rangers that are seeing a lot more of the ball.
It is Rangers that look more likely to get the next goal in this game, which feels like a bit of a incredible thing to say, really. But I think, as for Postecoglou, he's frustrated with what you've seen. I mean, it's a situation where his side may well have had a foot on the game, but the start from Rangers was just electric, wasn't it? And that opening goal was, Yilmaz has gone under a foul here on his left boot. He looks to be in real pain, actually, the Rangers number 3. It's, I think, the top of his boot. He's just having a look across to Stephen McLean. I don't think he was too happy with the nature of the challenge from Haskabanovic. He's back up to his feet now. It's off the television pictures that we've got. The tackle, he's back up to his feet, Yilmaz. I think referee's going to say it's no more than that. Looks to be a red card at Ellen Road. Junior Firpo has got that for Leeds United. Of course, he gave away that second penalty with a handball, so he's done well to last that long onto the pitch, as Hadji has possession of the ball now for Rangers. A cute little turn in there away from Kyogo. He plays the ball back towards his goalkeeper, McCrorie. McCrorie, again, opts to go long, takes no risk, wants to keep that clean sheet that he's worked so hard for in the opening 91 minutes that remain. There was 4 minutes added on incidentally by the fourth official. Celtic come forward here with Days and Maeda. He's 1-on-1 with Conor Golson. Fires it across the face of goal. Cleared away really well. That by John Suter, the scorer of Rangers' second goal. It's another one of Rangers' star performances in this game so far. Celtic have a throw-in as they look to at least reduce the deficit and get a goal back, but it's not looking too good for Postoglou's side now, as Turnbull finds the feet of Kyogo. Kyogo's attempted pass was a poor one. Rangers bring it out, but again they give possession of the ball back, and Celtic now show more urgency in this final echelons of the game than what they've shown in the majority of the second
well,
half.
it's almost like they've suddenly woken up and realised that they don't want to finish the game to 0. They want to at least get a goal, and they may get a chance here down the right-hand side. Across whipped in, but it's also a comfortable save there from McCrorie.
Yeah, comfortable again from McCrorie. It's another poor ball into the box, as easily for the goalkeeper to claim, as we tick into the second minute of additional time. An extra 2 minutes to be played. McCrorie's drop kick wasn't a very good one, but it's brought down well by Hadji. He's dispossessed by Maeda, but again he's able to win the ball back, and a cute little nutmeg in there from Hadji. Absolutely brilliant play from the Rangers number 7. Can he find the pass to match? He was looking for Lovelace, this time unable to do so. Good defending from Callum McGregor. McGregor finds Kobayashi. Kobayashi over towards Burnaby. Burnaby dispossessed by Tavernier. Unfairly, says our referee Stephen McLean, and it will be a Celtic free kick. Michael Bill's shaking his head. He's not happy with that decision, but he should be happy with his scoreline because he's heading for his first Old Firm derby victory. He's had 4 previous attempts. He's lost 3 and drew 1 as the Rangers boss. So he's not going to go into unwanted territory. Only 2 Rangers managers have before gone 5 Old Firm derby games without a victory. He's not going to be one of those. He's going to go 4 without a victory, but he will finally get a notch in the Old Firm derby victory column, as Celtic have possession of the ball back here with Kobayashi, and he looks for a long raking ball forward towards Maeda, but it wasn't quite to be, and McCrorie will just waste time there. Waits for Kyogo to come across, picks the ball back up and has the ball in his gloves, as we're into now the final minute of what remains at Ibrox. The game, in fairness, in the last sort of 10-15 minutes has petered out. Neither side has really given it anything in terms of going forward. Rangers sort of relieved the pressure that they put on for the majority of the second half, sat back, allowed Celtic to try and create things, but Celtic just haven't really been able to create a single clear-cut opportunity in the entire
No, they haven't, and I think that Postecoglou will say after this game that his side can do so much more in terms of their attacking threat. And it has been, from that point of view, it has been a very... I've been very surprised with how Celtic have just struggled. But in the first half, initially, I gave them the excuse that they weren't seeing enough of the ball because of the press from Rangers. But now, throughout the 90 minutes, they've actually seen more of the ball than Rangers, but just not been able to do anything with it.
Joe Hart finds the feet of Kobayashi. We're into the final 10 seconds. I'm sure referee Stephen McCrorie will blow that whistle any second now. Starfelt has the ball at the back for Celtic. He's in no rush to do anything with it. Finds the feet of Kyogo, and that is full time. Michael Beale with a slight smile on his face. That's his first Old Firm derby victory. Celtic's 28-game unbeaten run comes to an end. Their last defeat in the league was in September against St Mirren. That was their only defeat in the league. They've now lost 2 games. Their first defeat since November when Real Madrid beat them by 5-1. Todd Catmull with the first. John Suter with his first goal for the club. He got the second goal. And then Fashion Sakala was there to capitalise on a mistake from Callum McGregor to get the third. He rounded Joe Hart. That's full time at Ibrox. Thank you for joining us. Rangers 3, Celtic 0.